Hello everyone, I'm Kibitz, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make the most efficient hypertube launchers, as well as the most inefficient, game-breaking, reality-destroying ones as well. Enjoy! So you got your starter base built, and a couple coal generators online. Alright, that probably means you're about to start moving and grooving around the world. Only problem is, the world's pretty big. Luckily, you can't just scoot around everywhere in your little tractor. Or maybe take Truck Daddy for a little spin here. That's probably ill-advised. Or you might even get yourself an Explorer. It's literally in the name. Why not look around with this? Well, because there is a far better option. And that's with hypertubes. The greatest form of travel ever conceived. But you're probably thinking, but Kibitz, I don't want to build a hypertube that goes all around the world and have to travel through it all the time. That's ridiculous. But don't worry, because after you watch today's video, you won't have to, because I'll be showing you how to make hypertube launches. And these hypertube launchers can take you all over the world, and the only thing you'll have to worry about is landing. But once you have like parachutes or a jetpack, you're fine there too. Really, they're just the best thing ever. And even in my Let's Play world, the main way I travel around is with hypertube airports. So in my main base, I have this massive area just for launching me all over the world. And then in other places in the world, I have little hypertube launchers as well. So I'm literally flying across the map all the time. And it's one of the most fun ways to travel in the whole game. And honestly, the concept is really, really simple. Pretty much you make a hypertube, and when you make a hypertube in the hypertube entrance gives you a little bit of momentum. So you enter it, you're going pretty fast, and then when you leave the hypertube, you keep a little bit of that momentum. So, if the entrances give you speed, and when you leave, you keep that speed, all you have to do is set up many hypertube entrances in a row, and your speed will increase exponentially, to the point where you go through a bunch, and you're flying all the way over to Mr. Bean. Right, bud? Right? Right. Only thing with these hypertube launchers are they're super finicky. Like for example, depending on how you build the hypertube launcher, you can launch to further distances. So this one, pretty much the same as the other, except we're going like way further than the first one. Or if your momentum's really weird when you enter the hypertube launcher, say you're just walking, it's gonna be different too. And the angle you enter from changes things around as well. So yeah, like I said, there's quite a few variables you have to kind of mess around with. But luckily you don't have to, because you're watching this YouTube video. I'm gonna show you pretty much everything I know about hypertube cannons. All I ask is that you remember to leave a like. We're getting into things now. I'll just show you how to quickly build one of these, and they're super simple. This is the way I like to build them. So you put down your first support, then you go about 2 clicks to the left, and on the third, you put another one down, and just repeat this. Then at the end, you just wanna have your hypertube, you wanna go bring it out, have it go up, and then you can use this scroll wheel to actually turn the angle of the hypertube entrance thing right at the end there. Super handy trick if you didn't know that, irregardless of the hypertube stuff. Then you just put on the hypertube entrances, hook them up to some power, and you're rocking and rolling. Just one thing to note is the more compact you make these, the more speed you're gonna get, because there's no time in the tube, no time flying in the air. It's just entrance, and you'll go a lot faster. So this kind of design is if you're just kind of chilling out, need to get across your factory. If you're looking to fly somewhere, probably wanna make the supports one here. Yeah, with one support in the middle of a gap. You can even not have any support gap, depending on how crazy you wanna get, but this is about as far as I'd take it. Anyway though, as I mentioned earlier, these things are super finicky. Like for example, if you run into a hypertube launcher here, you go pretty far. Like we go about to this green dot, there we go. But then say if you just walk in from the side with no momentum, you hardly make any distance. See, we're going goodness gracious, pretty much a third of, about half the distance as we did before. So it matters a lot. Just make sure you're lined up with maybe a tile, and then you run in and go fast. And then you're good to go. that's just basically the hypertube cannon in a nutshell. You can make these things, of course, more powerful by adding in more entrances. Of course, the power usage gets up a little bit higher because each of these hypertube entrances takes about 10 megawatts. So a chonky boy like this uses quite a bit of power. However, you go exponentially further. So the 5 hypertube entrances went to there, and now the 10 hypertube entrances are taking us all the way over to here. So yeah, things can get real crazy with these guys. So crazy, in fact, I would not actually recommend building more than 15 hypertube entrances on one hypertube cannon, because or else the map isn't big enough. Like, you'll literally fly off the map. For example, this one here, this has 15 hypertube entrances. We go through it, and we weren't even really running there. We just kind of walked right in. But yeah, as you can kind of see, we're running out of map real quick. It's not good, and not very practical. And with the 15 entrances like that, the only real practical use I found for that is if you're flying literally from edge to edge of the map. So like, say I'm here and I want to go to the desert, that's when I'd use like the 15 entrances. Just zip back and forth through the air. However though, there's some points in time where you don't want to go through the air. What if you just hook this up to a normal hypertube? Well, you could do this too. And you could just go super fast in a controlled manner anywhere you really want. Just bring this hypertube anywhere. You maintain the highest speed, so it's like extremely fast travel. So if you did want to put the time into making the infrastructure, you could travel across the map in a very safe way in pretty much the blink of an eye with enough hypertube entrances here. Oh God. Hey, we're alive, that's cool. But yeah, as you can see, very dangerous, very powerful. And like I showed before, they can be pretty unpredictable, especially if you're getting into those really crazy cannons. So a nice way to kind of even everything out is to have a constant speed when you enter the first hypertube entrance. Because at that point, every further hypertube entrance exponentially increases your speed. So long as you're entering at the same speed every time, you'll go the same distance every time. So a pretty good idea here would just to get like a bounce pad and make a little platform like this. So you bounce up, and the entrance to the cannon is a little bit higher. So then when you enter the first hypertube, you go down a little hill, and you end up going a certain distance. Now what the little hill does, and the little ramp there does, is it makes sure, there we go, that you have a consistent speed whenever you start going through the launcher. And so with this, you don't have to worry about falling short, and more importantly, you don't have to worry about being shot right into space. Because so long as you actually land within the map's borders, you can get your stuff back. But if you go into the great beyond, well, it's gone. So those are all your basic hypertube launchers. They're very consistent. I'd recommend using these. However, there are other ways to build hypertube launchers. For example, you could build a loop here, which is far less consistent and uses some weird mechanics with the game. So this one, for example, will have you go in a loop. So you go through here, go through there, go back, shot through there, and you build up speed into this loop until the game breaks, and then you go out through this little ramp here, and it flings you off into space. So if we just use this, doot, gain lots and lots of speed until, whoop, there we go. And that uses far less power. And it shoots you pretty far too, like, yeah, pretty dang far. And then super quick on how to build these, it's really simple. It's just a small system. You're gonna wanna have your loop in one area, so let's just go to here. And we'll have the loop go around this way. And then for the actual launching part, like this design, you wanna go over 2 hypertube supports. So 1, 2, then on the third there. And then this will launch you out into space or wherever you wanna go. That is actually the most important thing about this. Just making sure that these 2 hypertube entrances are that specific distance apart. If it's closer, you might have a problem. If it's further, you will have a problem. So just make sure it's that distance. Then from there, you just make your little loop. You wanna go into the vertical build mode. There it is. Because you wanna have a nice curve on the loop so you maintain speed. And then it doesn't particularly matter how far you go. I suppose the minimum distance always works out, right? And the same thing for this part of the loop. I don't know, for example though, we went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's just go 5 here. And then we'll go around to this side. And that's that. Throw in your entrances, connect up your power, and you are a rockin' and a rollin'. Right? Well, let's find out. Wrong. These are even more finicky than the other hypertube launchers that we're checking out. Because half the time, you're just gonna fly out in the other direction. It could be just the speed you entered right there. It could just be some random game code stuff, who knows? But this guy and this guy are exactly the same, and sometimes they'll work, and sometimes they won't. They can be pretty spooky, but considering how convenient they are, like bruh, if you wanna get across a biome quick, just throw one of these bad boys together and whoop, you're off to the races. So pick a design that works for you. Now some of you might be wondering, what if you could just enter this system at a consistent rate like with the other systems? So I tried this out. I built this hypertube that starts over there. We have an even speed and we enter at this point every single time. So we enter here, doesn't matter what happens because the hypertube evens us out. We enter this loop and theoretically, we should go out through the exit every single time at the same consistent rate, but of course, sometimes you get just flung backwards. Now you could try as you may to try and block off the area you get flung out of, just with like power poles and stuff. Unfortunately though, you're breaking the physics of the game with this design. So it's not exactly advisable. Okay, so we've messed with some very practical designs, got to some crazier designs. Now we're gonna have a little bit of fun here. With taking things to the extreme. Because when you have over 15 hypertube entrances, the rules of reality in the game itself just go out the window. You can do anything, pretty much. If you have enough power, you can do pretty much anything. So what I've done here is I've made this super long hypertube and it's directly attached to an insane Hyperloop Accelerator. And this thing has like 20 hypertube entrances, meaning our speed is gonna be compounded to an unfathomable level. And what we're gonna be doing here is we're gonna be using that insane Hyperloop Accelerator all the way over there and going all the way over to here, just beneath me, and then launching ourselves straight up into the sky. And I want you guys to take your guesses as to what the heck is gonna happen here. Are we gonna go into the sky and die? Are we just gonna go up a little bit? Will we even make it to the end at full speed? Let me know your guys' thoughts. And also before we enter this horrific contraption, this is actually serious. This is like a nausea and epilepsy warning. Like legitimately, if you have epilepsy, literally just please leave. I'm sorry, this will be dangerous. And if you just ate, this might make you nauseous as well. Like it is not gonna be a good time. Anyway though, let's get ready to run. Let's go into the tube. We're gonna slide for a little bit extra speed and we are now across the map. Now we're in space. I have God mode on. So if we turn God mode off, we're dead. And for an example of how high we actually went, R.fog off. Yeah, we went this high. So we crossed about, I don't know, quarter of the map and then went up to space. Oh, but wait, that wasn't even as extreme as things get, because I've gone ahead and I've downloaded the Exosuit Mod here. This mod essentially combines both the jetpack and the Blade Runners, so you can run fast and you can fly, but also you can boost. So if you're just on the ground, you press Control while you're running, and you boost at super speeds. But if we went into this hypertube launcher going at super speeds, well, guess we'll find out. It's pretty interesting. Oh yeah. Well, since we already know now that we can cross the map and go into space in an instant, just with like the vanilla game stuff, we're gonna be trying something a little different here. And this time, instead of just going straight up, we're gonna go down. And we're gonna continue our little hypertube adventure just for a little bit longer here. Just for quite a bit longer. Okay, by quite a bit longer, I mean we're literally going around the entire map. Down the Gold Coast, out and around Crater Lake, through the Red Forest, and even through the Red Desert. I have connected a hypertube that goes quite literally through every biome in the game. And then it ends up right back at our platform. We're gonna be doing the same test again, where the hypertube goes up and just points straight up, and we see if we live or die. So again, epilepsy warning, nausea warning. This gets pretty insane. Also, don't blink. Let's go! Booster activated, and... Oh my god. I just had dinner. Why did I do that? We're in the Green Hills. We're in the Blue Lake. Wait, where are we now? Forest? We're in the swamp? The map's not loading. How is my computer alive? Where are we? Oh, wait. I can kind of understand what's going on. No, swamp, yes. Yeah, desert. We're still at like 1,000 miles per hour. Through the waterfall, over the cliffs. Oh, wait. Almost back now. Through this little desert patch, up, and there's our platform. How high are we gonna go? We are gonna go very high. So we just traveled around the entire map through every biome, and we ended up going this high. Luckily though, we actually didn't die, it seems. We didn't hit the skybox. Cool. Yeah, I didn't have God mode enabled either. Yeah, nope. Cool. Well, that just goes to show. These hypertubes, insane. In fact, you don't even need the Exosuit mod or anything like that in order to make a hypertube accelerator that crazy. Like if you doubled this up, you'd be going just as fast, if not faster. Though mods do make things quite spicy. In fact, there's another mod that recently came out that's specifically for hypertube boosting. So this mod is aptly called the Hypertube Booster mod. It adds Booster Mark 1, 2, and 3. Let me just forewarn you, these are incredibly powerful. So we have one Mark 1 booster on this little launcher, and this is how far we go. Yeah, that's the Mark 1. It's pretty strong. It's pretty crazy. So you could imagine how the Mark 2 is gonna be, eh? All right, but let's go and see for ourselves here. Yep, all right. So yeah, about double the height. Are we gonna die? Oh my gosh, I think we're gonna die. Okay, so maybe not. Let's just try and slow down. No, we're dead. Okay, but that was the Mark II. Now we're gonna try out the Mark III here. And I'm sure you guys can figure out what's gonna happen. We're not gonna have like the exosuit, we're not gonna be running. We're just gonna walk up and see what happens. All right. Good angle. It looks like we're not actually gonna be going into the skybox, that's good. But we're also not gonna land in our sandbox, i.e. inside the map. Look at how fast we're going. Oh, uh-oh. Bye. And we're dead. Neat view though. That brings us back to our little test area here. And this time, we have the Hyper Booster Mark IIIs. So before, this led us around the entire map, launched us right beneath the skybox of the world in about 10 seconds. Where when we just tested one of these, it launched us from one side of the map, outside of the map. So, yeah, I don't even know what this could do. We're gonna be using the boost again with the Exosuit mod, so we're gonna be going as fast as possible, and we will, I don't know if we'll see what happens, but we will experience what happens, all right? All right, and we have invincibility off. Quickly gonna heal up here. And are you ready? Let's do it. Exosuit activated. And what? Hello? What the heck is that? Is that God? Did we break through reality itself? What is that supposed to be the sun? Wait, that might be the entire world. Oh wait, what, radiation? Are we moving? Are we still in the world? What is going on? Hello? Hello? I'm in photo mode. Wait, where'd my health go? I can't move my mouse anymore. I can't look anywhere. There's just the orb. Praise be the orb. Wait, are we dead? We were dead. I think we literally just saw into the afterlife. Wow. Oh my gosh, I have a great idea. What if we had the map open as we went through that? Dude. Okay, we gotta try that one more time. Okay, so pretty much immediately after we go through all the hypertube boosters, we just lose track of reality. So the second the screen turns black, we're gonna try and pull up the map and see what the heck is going on. All right, let's give it a shot. Okay. There's God or what? Oh my gosh. How is my game running through this? This is our actual speed through the map. That is amazing. That is actually just amazing. Wow. This is like one of those goofy cartoons. Oh, and then we left the hypertube. I think we just, that's why we don't have a health bar or anything. We literally die in the split second we leave the hypertube. We're just back in space or something. Maybe, I don't know. Why can't we see anything? Only the orb. Is the orb telling us something? What does it mean? I think it's just saying to leave a like. All right, though, we're back here. Oh man, all right, well, that is really it for the hypertubes here. Hope you found some of this useful. Again, if you did, remember to leave a like, and I hope you enjoyed. But have a fantastic rest of your day, and bye-bye.